Hi, I'm Helen Pugh, and I'm an 8th grade social studies teacher at Fort Riley Middle School in Fort Riley, Kansas. Here is our geo-inquiry story.
Fort Riley Middle School is located on Fort Riley Army Installation in north central Kansas. Fort Riley, Kansas is the proud home of the 1st Infantry Division. Also known as the Big Red 1, it is the oldest continuously serving division in the United States Army, serving since 1917.
When we embarked on our geo-inquiry story, I had no idea where the tide would take us. We kept the National Geographic Learning Framework in the front ground throughout our journey, which helps students take ownership of their successes and failures. We first began our journey by brainstorming ideas of concepts our class was interested in. From there, we voted and narrowed in on an overall topic. Our environment was the clear winner. From there, we spent time crafting our geo-inquiry question with support from supplemental worksheets and our helpful turmeric. Our geo-inquiry question was, how can Fort Riley Middle School students create a cleaner environment for future generations? Students generated a survey asking their peers and staff what area should we focus on to create a cleaner environment for future generations. The data showed we need to compost. We needed to find a location on school property to place a composting area. We first spent time observing several aerial maps of our school grounds. We interacted with these maps to become comfortable with the area we would be scouting. We then came up with a list of basic requirements for the compost location. We then ventured out into a crisp fall Kansas morning and walked the outer premise of our school grounds. Students observed and collaborated about their location ideas. They marked their maps where they felt the best location should be. They came up with 2 possible locations that met all of the requirements. One near the garbage bins, since it had road access, it was out of sight and close to the cafeteria. The other location was closer to the woods on a flat piece of land, out of sight and near the cafeteria. My students surprised me at this point in our journey. They wanted to stay focused on the composting area, but as they collected data and other information, they became aware of the interconnected components to composting. The students divided themselves based on curiosity of the area of need they would work on. We now had 4 groups, one focused on composting, another on gardening, one on the prevention of food waste, and another on recycling. The compost group began to research types of large-scale composts as well as what materials we would compost. They concluded that they wanted to make the compost open and easy to add if needed. We would compost fruit, vegetables, and lunch trays to begin with. The gardening group would take over the responsibility of our new hydroponic garden. They would choose what to plant, prune the produce, water, feed, and check the pH levels. Our prevention of food waste group recognized there was a problem with our cafeteria's share basket. For starters, there was only one. The location was poor, it wasn't labeled, and few kids even knew what it was. They took on the task of fixing these issues. Our recycle group took on the challenging task of making their peers more aware of recycling. They wanted to share what can be recycled and how easy it truly is. Students transformed data they collected into pie charts to show the level of interests in different areas of need. Our compost group researched dimensions and materials they would like to use in the construction of their compost. They collaborated their ideas and problem solved to come up with the best option they would present to administration. The learning framework really came alive as students began to create their geo-inquiry story. Our garden group continued to care for the tower garden. Curiosity sprang up as the plants began to grow. They were eager to taste the food they had grown. There was a sense of empowerment that came with growing something from a seed, nurturing it, and sharing the produce with their peers. Our food production group created signs and emailed staff asking for basket donations. Help poured in. They also created a public service announcement expressing the purpose behind the share baskets to be shared in every homeroom class. Our recycle group looked at the data closely and felt the responsibility to help with the recycling process. So they created a visually stimulating poster to be hung above every recycle bag in the building, showing what should be recycled and what should be thrown into the trash can. It was now time to act. Our compost group compiled a visual presentation and shared it with administration. We are waiting back to hear from military officials to see if we can begin on our compost site. Our garden group prepared a beautiful kale spinach salad with the honey mustard vinaigrette and served the rest of our class. It was a success, and students have more recipes in the pipeline. Our prevention of food waste group presented to administration as well. They were able to place the additional baskets with signs throughout the lunchroom, as well as have all homerooms watch their public service announcements on the importance of sharing food and not throwing it away. Our recycle group placed 40 signs up around the school and also had their public service announcements shared in homeroom. Watching my students' attitude blossom, their skills mature, and their knowledge deepen was a true gift.